Okay. Let's see. Yep. Okay. So yeah, particle systems. I've used a lot of different particle system solutions in different tools and things. I've never really sat down and actually properly designed one. You know, obviously I have the ability to create particles in this engine. Lots of little helper functions and utilities and stuff for showing the particles themselves. But I've never really gone ahead and gone, oh, you know, let's make an emitter and, you know, some options and stuff. And what I want to do is I want to have it so I can save it and load it from JSON or in some other text format. JSON's fine because I have a bunch of like serialization shortcut stuff that I can use. And what I want to do is basically just have all those options and things savable and loadable, and then I can make an editor in the game so I can sit and tweak and play around with particle systems. And that is today's goal. So I've got an hour, which probably isn't a lot of time, but you know, gotta pick away at these things slowly. So switch back to the zoomed out view. I guess yeah, this tool view will do. So I made a blank class for my particle emitter. Before I use it though, I actually have to kind of jump into the C# project itself, because I'm not using Visual Studio to do this. Normally I would, but I like using VS Code now. I'm kind of getting more and more used to using this as my day-to-day editor. And I've got like a bunch of shortcuts hooked up so I can start and stop the game. Still can't get debugging working quite right in C# because it's really more for .NET Core stuff, and this is like an older .NET Framework project. So if I do want to do any serious debugging that's not just like logging stuff out to a line, if I want to go like breakpoint line by line, then I'm going to have to jump into proper Visual Studio. Right, yes, let's get going. So I have the idea of an emitter here, but I guess I'm going to need kind of like a structure for like the particles options or something. And so I can serialize and unserialize this. Also, I am not going to be coding with like my best practice or anything. I'm just going to be like writing stuff. So code quality is not the priority. I have been languishing with this project for months. So I'm going to get things done first, and then I'm going to clean them up after. So yell at me if you want, but this is like game jam level code. This is not going to be nice, beautiful code. I mean, obviously it's not going to be terrible. I don't want my game to suck, but, you know, I don't want to be like chasing bugs forever either. But that's why I've got a couple of classes in the same file and, you know, stuff like that. So, yeah, actually I think this could just be a structure. So, generally speaking, I'm using Otter2D as my game engine / framework, which is by the indie developer Kyle Pulver, which I mentioned before. Made a game I really liked, and this engine / framework works really well for me. Lets me just get things written up real fast. So this actually has a ton of stuff already for particles. It has like, you know, color stuff, frames for animation, speed, direction, final speed, final scale, so it, you know, can tween between different things, and color stuff. And I don't want to be like too redundant and like clone all of this out, but I'm probably going to have to, because this is also deriving itself from the entity class. And Otter kind of has a setup where there's a bunch of singletons for managing like the game state and control input and stuff that like shortcuts a lot of stuff, makes it really easy to use. But it does mean that if I try to serialize this, it's going to try and serialize like my entire game. Like if I use an automatic reflection-based serializer, which is what I'm going to do because I don't want to write it manually. So I'm going to have to make kind of a copy of all these things, pretty much, and then like make a function that kind of like instantiates one of these actual particles using this template. So I guess I could call it like a particle template. And there's a few of these that I probably don't use often. So So I'll start with like the minimum viable product. A particle has to have like a start and an end color, start and an end scale, start and end position, and maybe start and end speed. And then like the emitter itself, I can have a separate structure for like the emitter options. That includes like angle and spread and number of particles and, you know, which templates it's using, like a list of templates. And then the templates can be saved to files, and the emitters can be saved to files separately, and they can reference each other. So, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to make this a class. Just because I'm going to write a serialization function for that. I'm using Mutant-Soft JSON because everyone does, and so there's tons of information about it. I don't think it's particularly heavy. It might be, but I don't mind. Also, this might be a little small to read on your screen, depending. I could zoom in, but for now it's probably fine. So yeah, things we need. Color. We'll have a start color. End color. Start scale. End scale. And we'll have... Oh yeah, I guess we're going to need like a spawn position for the particle. Yeah. You know what, we'll start with that for now. Oh, and maybe like final position. Like a end X and an end Y. And for consistency's sake, I'll just call this start X and start Y. Then I can put like a little helper in my particle helpers. This is the one. These are the ones that like just make and shoot out particles, like the smoke and the stars. So this isn't really so much of a helpers class as it should be, but now I can make it like a spawn particle from template, and I can pass in particle template in there, and I'll make a new particle, and we'll use the oh, none of these are public. That's what I get for getting ahead of myself. There we go. So yeah, okay. Particle, start X, start Y, and yeah, that'll do for now. And so you can see I'm kind of doing the same thing up here. I'm using like random position offsets and stuff for these ones, so they have like a little bit of variation. That'll be done in the emitter settings instead. Like for this case, I just want to spawn a particle from a template and return the particle. It's really more instantiate rather than spawn, because we're not adding it to the world or anything. We're trying to keep this as minimal as possible. Yeah, so we have our particle here, our new particle even, and X is already being set by the constructor, so final X equals template dot end X, new particle of final template dot end Y. I'm gonna need some kind of default some options, I think, actually, in the template that describe the behaviors that I want the particle to have, because the way that the particle object works in Otter is that depending on which of the fields you set and which of them that you leave uninitialized, it changes the behavior of the particle. And replicating that through the template is probably ugly. I can leave that for now. I'll fix that later. For now, let's just go for the simplest thing that we were going for. Color equals template color. Oops, template dot start color. Final color equals template dot end color. particle.scale x equals template scale x. Or did I just do the one scale? I think I did start scale. Yeah. That's fine. It can be big particles will be uniformly scaled for now. It's fine. Final scale x template scale. Okay, so what we have is a fairly basic particle. I'm actually just now realizing that the start position stuff, end position stuff, that's not going to work because the template will be saved to a file, but the position is going to be like relative to the world position. So yeah, I guess it could be an offset, but no, that's not going to work. That's fine. What I'll do is I'll do a start speed, or end speed, and I'll do a start direction and end direction, because that'll give us the same thing we need, but it'll be relative to where we start. Particles with like guaranteed stop, x's and y's is probably kind of weird, and I guess I'll need to like pass in an x and a y into this function so that I can kind of instantiate it on the fly. So this would be, yeah, the final x, final y stuff isn't going to work, but what I can do is final speed, length, template dot end speed, particle speed, length, template start speed, particle speed direction, start direction. Okay, and one more thing I noticed is of course we need a lifetime, lifespan even, which is, how long the particle lives in frames, usually, is what Otter uses. So what I'll do is I'll just add a quick lifespan field. And that'll do it. So we have this instantiate particle from template thing, and now I can add like a public JSON. I think a string would be fine actually. Serialize to JSON string. I'll make this static. Why is my computer trying to set up the headphones I'm already wearing? Who knows? The mysteries and the vagaries of Windows. Yes, let's see. So, Newtonsoft JSON, I think you just go JSON convert dot serialize object. So I don't really need this function at all, but if I want to add any kind of validation or stuff in there, then I can. And then I make a deserialize from JSON string. Does this have like a type? It does have a type. Okay. Yeah, I can use it as a thing. Yeah, for some reason my computer's just reinstalling all the drivers for everything. Stop it. Cool. There we go. Now, I believe this will return a null if the thing is bad. Returns deserialized object. I'm presuming it will return a null if it fails to deserialize, so I can do some checking. Ideal times is the thing I was talking about. If particles null, do some debug logging. could deserialize particles string. And then I guess I would just put the whole string in there. Serialization will pretty much guaranteed always work because these objects are like simple types. Like color is just 4 floats, so yeah, that'll be fine. So now, I guess I'll make a new like particle helper function that kind of just showcases this, or even better. Yeah, I'll make something like when you spawn in the world. I'll just do some dumb stuff like I'll make particle. No, it'll be in utilities because I have a namespace for this. Maybe it shouldn't be in utility. It should probably be in its own particles namespace. I can move it later. Or will I forget? Who cares? Utility! Particle template. New template. Equals new utility particle template. So new template dot lifespan. It's going to be like, let's say we'll make it last a second. The start direction is 0. End direction. Ooh, that's a point. Let's just make these have default values. Because otherwise I'm going to be here all night setting stuff up. So it's going to fade from white to black. It's going to be start off at like size 1, end up at half the size. The start speed is going to be, I don't know, like 3. End speed will be 0. I think that's pixels per frame, so it's going to be pretty quick. The direction, which is an angle, will be 0. End 0, lifespan 60 frames, 1 second. And that way when we spawn a new one, it'll just have some default stuff, and then I can go like utility particle helpers dot instantiate particle from template, new template, and then I can do actually I just add that to the scene directly because it is an object of that type, and it'll be at position. Oh, I'll grab the player's X and the player's Y. What I'll do is I'll move this whole thing. Convert these to integer because I'm a fool. Oh. What I'll do is I'll grab both these and I'll shove these in the keyboard controls zone, wherever I put that. Yeah, I've got some debugging keys here that start and end in editor mode that I never finished. I'll do like if we pressed, I don't know, the T key, then it'll make a particle. Maybe just the P key. Oh, I think I bound that to something else. I don't know. But that should just make a particle which appears in the world, spawns and dies, except it probably won't because particles need an image. So I will give the particle, for now, like a new, like just a rectangle, little 16 by 16 white rectangle, save an image, and I'll center the graphic. So that should be just a little square. Should make a little white square that turns black, shrinks, and moves around. Like moves to the right, I think, is what it'll look like. And just to help us see it, I'm also gonna add a layer to this. So layers in Otter are like, just like in which order things should be drawn. And so I can just do like equals template.layer. Put an S there instead. So what'll happen is that it'll render on top of everything else pretty much. Cool. So if I run the game now, building, doobie-doobie-doo, running. Okay. Let's zoom in. So if I press the T key, the game crashes. That's great. Null reference exception. When I started the particle. I must be missing something that particles need. Let's see what else I put in here. Lifespan. Oh, it has a special image. Okay. Equals image to create rectangle. Is that not going to work? I see. Particles explicitly want an image set. So this is part of the problem. That's fine. It's not too hard to make a new image set. But what I'll do is I'll just copy the star particle that I've been using. I'll make a default image for particles as well. So just a 16 by 16 image, and I'll zoom in, and I'll just make like, I don't know. Well, I guess a box works. But to make it obvious that this is not a particle you should be using, I'll just have a sad face on it. There. And then I can go to graphics. And I should make a particles folder, because right now I've not been. I've just been like dumping graphics in random folders. So this is error.png. A bad particle, but not really. Good in my heart. I've been zoomed in. There we go. I keep forgetting to change my the layouts around. You know, I've got all these shortcut keys I'm not using. Okay, so yeah, I made a sad particle. And now that we're back here, yeah, I don't know how much of that I missed out then. Oh god. I'm going to probably avoid using the zoom in where I can, otherwise I'll forget to change back. Or else put some kind of graphic on my screen that makes it show me that I'm doing that. It's probably been like 5-10 minutes. Never mind, the stream is an audiobook now, and you can enjoy it. So, instead of starticle, it's going to be particle/error.png 16 by 16. And hopefully, that means it's not gonna like try to. I think I need to center the origin of the particle, though I will anyway. Hopefully that means it's gonna try to like. It won't try to like animate, and it won't try to play frames from that image. It'll just be like, oh, this is how big the image is. Hopefully. So let's see. Okay, let's see it. Nope, crash. Cool. That is because it can't find assets, graphics, particle. Because I put it in the wrong folder, did I? Particles, plural. There we go. So if I press T, there it is. A tiny sad face that shrinks, turns black, and moves to the side. So I have a particle system. The next step is I'm going to take this path and the size and put them in the template. And then I can have public string, image path, and by default that will be particles error, and then like integer for image size x or image width. Image height. Ideally, most of these will be square. And then I can just kind of slot those in here. I have this like helper function that gives me like a nice asset path to my assets, so I don't have to use like absolute paths or anything. And it gets constructed like depending on if I'm doing a debug build or a release of the game. It chooses the folder it should be in. Image path. Let's run that. Cool. Works. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this from spawning the particle and just make it save it into a folder. I'm going to change my assets thing. So I've been using this assets folder, like a file. Here's me in, like, still in the Unity headspace. Now I'm using this assets file for. At first, yeah, of course, it was just asset management, and then it started being like layer management, and then a bunch of other globals I didn't really care about putting anywhere else, like the size of my tiles and the pause groups I'm using, the fonts, locations, and stuff. Basically, it's my statics. It's just wherever I have anything that needs to be global, and a lot of people would argue that nothing needs to be global, but I don't care. In my tiny game, I'm going to have statics and singletons and a bunch of horrible things, and it will bite me in the ass, but that's fine. I'm making this for fun. And you'll notice there's some weird things like pool ball and stuff in there, and UI, title bar, desktop icon, and it's because the project that I'm building my game in is actually kind of all of my projects lumped together, because I started getting tired of making new projects for each individual tiny thing I worked on. So the pool ball stuff I was tweeting about like a month ago, that's all in here, and I can just like jump to that scene if I want to, start it up. So it means that all the things that I make in those little side experiments end up staying within arm's reach. Anyway, back to this. I'm going to make a new... Actually, I've got a data asset type. And I guess that's fine. I'll use data and then like have a subfolder to save in. I better make sure that folder exists. Donut, assets, data. Ah yes, I had some stuff for parallax things. Particles. So what I'll do is, I will also add a name to the template. And this will be the same as the file name. And then I can use this for like looking it up in dictionaries and stuff, and like caching the loading, so I only have to load it once, and so on. So this will be called, well, default will just have like a default name, and that's fine. And then what I can do is have a library of templates that get loaded when the game loads, and then I can access them when the game's running. And then maybe add a hot reload later or something. So let's see. There is no data path, so I'm going to add one. There we go. And then I can add it into the switch case here that does all this stuff. Cool. Now all I have to do is go to the... I will make a helper that saves one of these. Save particle template to file, and it will take a particle template. And because the template contains its name, that's what I'll use as the file name. Static. There we go. Is that gonna stop complaining at me? There we go. Typos. So yeah, so I'm gonna get a path for it. So file path. Type data, and it'll be particles / template name JSON, and then I just save it. I'm just going to call that lovely particle template.serialise, and then it's like, oh god, how's it go again? It's like file. No, system.io dot write file, maybe file write all text JSON string. Oh no, this is the path, file path JSON string, and then there's an encoding, so I guess I should use UTF-8. text encoding. Because UTF-8's common. Also, I think the serialization I can pass in here. I want to pretty print this, so can we go formatting, dented. Hopefully that pretty prints, but it's fine. I can just view it in here if it doesn't. So if I go back to the world, and then I can do particle helpers from utility. Particle helpers. Save template, new template. So when I press T, it will make that file, and then I can start editing that file, and wow, it's modding capabilities suddenly. Okay, so yeah, that little hitch there as it saved it. So now I can go to my assets, data, particles, default.json. Here it is, and it did pretty print. So yeah, got all the different fields which show up in my editor, which is nice. Interestingly, color seems to encode not just the floats, but also the byte representation and the string. And I'm hoping that this isn't going to be an issue where I change these and it won't serialize back. So I'm going to have to double check and maybe serialize the colors differently. But there it is, the scale, the speed, the direction, the file, the layer. It's all here. So what I can then do is add a load function to here. So it'll be a particle template, load template from file, string, name. I guess just the name, because the file path comes from here. And what I'll do is I'll add a lookup in the assets of like preloaded files. So static dictionary string particle template. And that's going to be called the particle template cache. That way, I'll give it a capital P. I can just kind of dip into there directly from here. I can go, I can check. So if particle template cache assets dot particle template cache contains the name, contains key, name, then I just fetch that out. Like that. Otherwise, we load it from file. I can put a bool in here, I guess, like force from file, and then that way I can just force load it from the files, and it'll overwrite. So what I want to do is I want to load all text. File dot read all text file path, because I need to get the file path, stick it there. String JSON string. That does this produce an exception? File read all text. I'm googling to see if it has an exception when it fails, or if it returns something empty if it can't. So yes, it does use an exception. But I can do file exists first. So if file exists. Oh, messing this up. Go to 2 after I've got the file path. So yeah, if system file exists file path, then we do it. If we don't, we log an error. Return null. could not load file. Could not load particle file. File path. Cool. And this is still upset because not all file paths will return something, but that's fine. I'll just put a return null at the bottom. Stop screaming at me. And then just let me let go. Something bad happened here. Load particle name. Saving, I'm not so worried about having errors on because I'm mostly going to be the one who uses that, whereas the loading will be used, obviously, when the game is released. So yeah, load JSON string, then we can return the thing. Oh, that's unreachable. Okay, that's fine. If that's unreachable, then the compiler won't care. Yeah, so I want to return the particle emitter. No, I want to return the particle template deserialise JSON string. Boom. So what I'll do to test this is, I guess I'll make a copy of default. I'll call it beans, and then I'll change the color. No, I won't change the color because I don't know if it's going to mess up. What I'll do is I'll change the start scale to be like 0, the end scale to be like 20. And that's it. That's all I'll change because it's a small enough change that it's obvious. Yeah, and then I'll test that out. So let's see. Particle stuff. Just make sure it's there. It's all done. I can get rid of these empty lines. And then, so when I press T, instead of saving the particle, whoa, there. Okay. Instead of saving the particle, I will go back to instantiating one. But this time, I will load particle template from file. And the name is beans. Oh yeah, I need to put in the force. What I'll do is just make that default parameter. I don't care about it. Right, so when I press T, it will first load it from file, so there should be a little hitch first, and then it does the particle. Then after that, when I press it, it should just be using it from the cache, so it shouldn't like do anything like janky at all. It shouldn't be accessing the disk. So let's find out. There's the big one, and it hitched first, and now I can just do it whenever I want. It works. Mission successful. We have saving and loading of particles. The next thing I want to do, obviously, is add more options for better control. When there's some easy wins, of course, I can just start with things like does it animate? And if it animates, how many frames does it have? Which I think it should start at 1. And then I can just do like new particle, animate, template animate. Now, as far as the deserialization goes, I think it will use the defaults from here if it loads and like they aren't filled with anything in the JSON, so like these that don't have the property, I think will work. The color stuff, I'm thinking of maybe just having a string like this and then using that instead of a particular color because, yeah, I don't want to have to deal with like weird multiple field businesses going on. There we go. And that means that if I go back to starticle, there is... Oh, you can just like do this. Okay, maybe I don't need the frame count if I've loaded the file. Yeah, that's better. We could like force it later, but that's so much easier. So much simpler. Then I don't need this. I just need to tell it if it animates or not. That way, if I wanted to load the starticle, I could. I would need to find the file and move it in there. But that's fine. Yeah, colors. Yeah, let's change these. Can I do something like color string? Yeah, obviously just store these as strings. That seems simple enough. I will have to destroy these because they won't load anymore, or else I can just actually, if it's a string, I can just change it from an object to a string, like that. There we go. That's the thing, I'm going to start running into problems where I start modifying files that already exist, like structures that already exist. But this does mean I can start experimenting, so first 6 bits will be color, so I can make it like purple, like magenta, and then it fades into cyan. And then when I instantiate the particle, the color is obviously color from, not from bytes, color custom. Wait, there's a string for a name. I guess that's a lookup. Okay. I think it's maybe just like new color. Yeah, then you take the string. Cool, 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 cool. Boom. Right. So if we start this up, and I load the particle, yeah! How's that? Cool, so now the emitter stuff, we've got like 15 minutes left, or 20 minutes left on the stream, so I feel like I've been pretty productive so far. The next step is the emitter. So I'll just do the same thing. Instead of particle emitter options, I'll just call it particle emitter template, just to keep the naming convention similar. And that's also real simple. I can just do the things that I want. So what I have here in the helpers already is things like the number of particles, the angle they should spread at, the fire angle, the fire speed. The emitter itself, I'm going to have a couple of new fields. So I'm going to have an enabled field, which is true to start with. So I can toggle it on and off. Maybe I should call it emitting rather than enabled, because it's a different connotation there. And it will be using Otter's main update stuff, because it's a entity with components. So when I like instantiate one of these, I can give it an X and a Y and a scene and everything, and it will work just as expected. So I can do like if emitting, and then I'll have an emit particles function. I don't know why I don't just make this part of the thing, but it means that I can like call it for one frame and do like a one shot if I want to. And I guess I will have it be like, well, you know what, the emitter. Actually, this should be options, because I'm not using this as a template to build a class I don't have control over or don't want to replicate. What I can do is I can actually just hold hold on to the options as an object here. And then I'll make that null by default. So what I can do with the emit options is like keep all the main properties that I don't want to serialize, like entity properties in here, and then I can just read directly from the options in this object to do what it needs to do. So angle and everything, I'm not going to have like a separate like, oh, you know, here's my angle or whatever. I don't need that. I can just read from here. And that's fine. So we'll have an emit angle, which will be 0 by default. We will have an emit range, I guess like a cone range. So if my angle was 0, I could have like, you know, maybe a minimum and a maximum's better. Emit range min, which by default is 0, and emit range max. so that I can kind of like randomize between these two offsets. So if I wanted like a cone of 15 degrees, I'd be like minus 7.5 in the min and then 7.5 on the max, and it would like pick a bit in between every time it was spawning a particle, and it would kind of like come out like that, I guess. Then I'd want like a emit speed min, and then emit speed max. And of course, this would have a particle template. No, in fact, it would have a list of particle templates that it emits particles to emit. Or should an emitter have multiple options? And each one has one particle it emits, because then you can emit different particles in a different shape. Yes. Yes, that's how it should be. Particle to emit. Yeah, because then I can do like list, particle emitter options, make that an empty list. I'm like instantaging all of these here because I always forget to do it otherwise. So that means if we serialize the options, yeah, this kind of ruins my plan of having like being able to serialize the emitter and keep everything in one go. I guess it will be. Well, you know what? I could have particle emitter options, which is like overarching things about the emitter itself, like maybe a lifetime and stuff. And then I could maybe have particle emitter or emission. Particle system, I guess, template, because an emitter can use multiple systems, and systems can contain all of the things about a particular type of emission. And then it can have a list of those, but then a single one particle emitter options. Does that make sense? Probably not. But so this has a list of particle system templates, emit templates, and this can have its own like lifespan. It should be an integer. And it can have lifespan, and I guess like what are other system-wide things like local or world space for the particles maybe. So it could like attach itself to an entity, perhaps. That's easier to do on the higher level. I don't know. I guess you could have something like bursts or something. All those are probably emit templates. Either way, I feel good about this. So this has like a single particle emitter options, and the options bundles everything together. And the particle template it emits should actually be a name. Because I don't want to serialize that inside it. That's the whole point of having the cache. Right, okay, good, we're getting there. Emitter options is null. So, if emitter options is not null, then we do a bunch of stuff with them. So let's just make a real basic emitter right now. So if emitter options is not null, we go through the list of emit templates. This lifespan thing is pointless because I can just put a lifespan on the entire object. But yeah. Oh, but that's why I would load it. Serialization. So I guess I would. I don't know. I'll figure that out when I need lifetime. If I don't need it yet, I won't put it in. So for each emit template in emitter options dot emit templates, then yeah, we can do some emission stuff based on this. So we can emit a single particle single particle, and then we'll have a particle template, and then we'll have I guess the options for that. No, we just need the particle system template. Emit once. System template. Oh wait, that's the point. Actually, we should have a number to emit. Which starts off at 1. Yeah, I guess we don't need this function. Just being silly. For int I equals 0, I is less than emit template emit num plus whoop wrong key. Then in here, I just need to emit the particles. So we'll load the particle to emit, like the particle template to emit, which we can do outside of here actually, is from the particle helpers load template from file emit template emit particle to emit. This might be doing more heavy lifting than we need, but that's fine. We can optimize this later. Then when I want to create a particle, I need to get to my bit where I spawn it. So each of the otter entities has a scene attached to it, so it has its own scene. And I instantiate the particle from the template. I guess in this case, I don't need the speed anymore in the particle template, come to think of it. Or I'll just add it, I guess. I don't know. This is the trouble. You start to go around in circles. But I do want to instantiate this. I want to instantiate where we are currently. I need to coerce that to an integer for some reason. I should maybe make that a float. Yeah. Just because that's how positions are handled in the game. Okay. Cool. Since this returns the particle, we'll do this. And I guess we can do some like weird stuff to it that overrides its speed and stuff. We'll keep the final speed the same, because then we can do like weird like rocket trails and stuff that kind of like force back against things. I don't know. There's maybe some parameters that I have to do at runtime that I can't do just with options, and I could like put those in here, like maybe bool overwrites speed is true, and then I can do that. I can say like, hey, if the template we're using overwrites the speed, then we do this to the particle. So we go we go particle speed speed direction equals r emit angle plus random float from emit angle emit template. God, I keep forgetting my own head. Emit range min, emit template, emit range max. Is that what I want to do? Yes. Yes, exactly. Same with the speed. Speed length is emit speed min, emit speed max. Okay. And what we can do is I can add a function that instantiates one of these particle emitters. Public static. Or maybe just a constructor. Emitter options. Emitter name. Actually, yeah. Static particle emitter. Load from. What did I call this one? Called it like load particle template from file. I guess it'd be load emitter from file. I'll pretty much just wholesale copy this nonsense. I'll add a new folder, emitters. Name. Source from files, false. Yep. This needs to be a new thing. From particle emitter options. I'm getting lost. What did I name that again? Yes, particle emitter options has the stuff. Yeah, I guess I should actually make this an emitter options. I should probably put it in the same file as the helpers for the other thing, because that's nicer. And then what I could do is I can do a constructor for this that uses a particle emitter options. So you have to give it some options and an X and a Y, and then I can do X equals X, Y equals Y, emitter options equals options, so on. This needs a particle system cache. It is particle emitter options. Then when I load, I use the system cache, and it's a particle emitter options. I'm deserializing, which needs the deserialize thing. In here. Particle system. No. Emitter options. Oh, the music has stopped. Start that on again. But I'm coming to the end of the stream, so I'm gonna have to hurry this up. Okay. Cannot convert the type. Correct, can't. Because that's an options. Cool. Okay. Yep. Yep. Good, good, good. All good. I should move this up here for hierarchical reasons. This is why you don't put multiple classes in one file, because you get lost. But I don't want to make a lot of files. Cool, cool, cool. Right, so I'll overrun on the stream a little bit just so I can get this done. So we'll have it instantiate the particle beans, but what I can do is also do utility.particle emitter options equals new thing. Add new template. Wait, this is a string list, isn't it? No. Particle system template. Why did I do this again? So confusing. What have I done? That's right. I wanted to serialize this particle emitter because there's a list of templates which are also being serialized. Oh, I've made a mess of this. This should have been like a list of names of these, and then those get loaded. Or something. Oh, the tangled web we weave. So, I could just add a new particle system template, right? I guess. Yes, actually, yes. This is fine, as it turns out. Because what I'll do is I'll add a couple of those. 1 and 2. And then I'll save those as a file. So I'll do the utility, the particle helpers, save. I didn't write the save thing. Okay. Where's the save? Save particle template to file. Need to make one for this. Save emitter options to file. Particles, emitters. Oh, and it needs a name. I'm a goof. Emitter name. Default. Now we serialize it to string. Okay. And then I should move the save above the load, so that it's in the same order as the first one, so I don't get lost. Okay, save emitter options to file. Options. Cool. And I'll call this options emitter name hello. Then I make sure that the folder exists, because otherwise it will scream at me. This is the nature of the universe. Emitters, plural? Emitters, yes. Okay, with a slash, trailing slash, do not forget. Okay. Excellent, right. So now when I start the game, I press the button, it makes a particle, and then it makes a blank template with 2 empty spaces and the word hello. Okay, here we go. Also, Flux came on, or the Windows 10 equivalent of Flux, so I don't know if you're seeing that in the stream, but it's fine. I'm stopping anyway soon. So T does this thing, loads that one, saves the others. Go to the assets, Emitters, hello. There it is. Okay. It's emitting these 2 default particles. So let's do one that emits beans, and the other does emit default. And this one emits it like at 90 degrees, so it's upwards, and this one will emit it at 180, so it's backwards. The range on this one will have like -20, 20, so it's like a little cone, and it'll make like, I don't know, 10 of them. And it'll make like, I don't know, 25 of the default ones. And won't have a cone, but will have like a random speed from like 1 to 8, and this one will just have a set speed of 3 to 3. So now, brain getting tangled up, I am going to load a particle emitter, or rather I'm going to instantiate one that also loads at the same time. So I do utility.particle emitter, like new particle emitter, calling the constructor I made. The name, no, it's going to be utility.particle helpers.load emitter options from file, and the name is, God, what do I call that? Hello. And then it's going to spawn at the player's X, the player's Y, and it's emitting true by default, so it should just start spraying particles everywhere from wherever I place it as the player. Cool. Okay. Yes. If the options is not null, and for every template, do the thing. This has been called here in the update. Okay, we're good. So this should load from hello, the two different types of particle I want to instantiate with different emissions on both, but as part of one object. Yes! It works! Don't know what's going on with the speed there. Of the grey ones. Oh, because the final speed is still 3, I think. Or some... I don't know what's going on there, but it looks kind of cool. And so if I press the button again... Boosh, another one, and the frame rate immediately tanks because I'm drawing way too many things and probably trying to access a bunch of stupid stuff. Show FPS. Yeah, you have 4,000 entities or whatever. I guess, yeah. That's fine. That's doing 50 a frame. So that's, let's tone that down, shall we? Let's do like 2 per frame, and 1 per frame of that. Oh, maybe I need to make like fractional values. So I can like emit one so many every frames. Yeah, I'll add that. I'll do and emit x every frame. No, emit 1 every x frames. And that will default to 0, but I'll add some logic in here. So in here we can do that. So we can go like if emit template.emit num is more than 0, do this. Otherwise, we do some other logic. And the other logic is now we're going to start repeating ourselves. So this needs to be like emit 1 particle. Done. And that comes from particle template, emit template. Right? No. To emit. Nope. I don't care. I'm copying and pasting. If you're using something twice, that's fine. I guess 3 times is when you start to worry. Instead, we do if game.timer is modulo of emit template dot emit 1 every x frames 0. So every x frames. If this is more than 0. Don't want to do a bad thing. Don't want infinity on our hands. Okay. Then we do the whole particle spawning thing. Cool. So now if I go back here, I can add the what's it called? Dang it. Emit 1 every x frames thing that I just made. God, I can't remember stuff. Emit 1 every x frames. So every 15 frames we emit 1 of the default ones. No, I don't want to do that. What I want to do is do it for the big one, the beans. By the time I get this working like properly and have these all done, these will actually be descriptive names, and then everyone will be happy. So emit num 0, 1 every 15 frames for this beans one, and then for this 2 every frame of the default one. They'll like spray out. And yeah, like I guess the final speed is still being set by the overwrite, which I think controls the direction and the length. So that's why it's like rotating to face sideways. So if I go to the default particle, the one that we saw like doing that, I guess I should like maybe force this if we're writing the speed. Particle final speed direction equals the start one, just in case. And then just because it's like usually 0, something, I guess. I don't know. I'll figure out some way of dealing with this like default, non-default stuff. There's probably just the solution is going to be have a hell of a lot more options. Now if I press the T key, it won't create like 5,000 entities and slow my game down. That's, yeah, 1 every 15 frames, which is still incredibly quick. Still don't know quite what's going on with this thing, but it looks like a cool like spray of playing cards or something. But yeah, now it's nice and fast. I can just make these. It's great. It works. I have modability. If I choose to expose that at runtime. Yeah! Alright. That's video games, my friends. And with that, I'm gonna end the stream. So I'm probably gonna do something similar to this. I might work on the particles more later, like next stream, which will probably be Wednesday or Thursday or something. I don't want to do this every night, otherwise I'll die or something. Oops. But yeah, so that's it. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll join me next time when I make the particles do more cool things by editing JSON instead of code. And then I can see if I can replicate the effects I already have by using my new system, and then save them, and then commit them. And talking of which, I should commit what I've done. Stream 1, particle, JSON, loading, saving, etc. Push that up. So yeah, there we go. Thank you very much. And I'll see you next time.